Floss Tube, welcome to Snickerdoodle Stitch. My name is Kathleen and this is a channel about cross stitch. So thank you for coming to visit my channel. If you're returning, a special thank you, and if you're new, welcome. Hopefully there will be something here to inspire or enable you for something you want to add to your stash. So it's been a busy couple of weeks. I went last weekend to Stitching in the Wild. It was a fast turnaround after having been to Stitch North. So Stitching in the Wild was a 4-day retreat held in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, sponsored by Gary and Ronnie from Garon Stitchery and Garon Toten Bags. It was interesting going to 2 retreats like that back to back. Especially Stitching in the Wild was a lot smaller. It was, I think, 90 people, somewhere right around 100, just under that. Whereas Stitch North was more than twice that size. It was considerably larger. The other thing I found at Stitching in the Wild, and I sort of knew this going into it, Gary and Ronnie have a Sunday Zoom with pretty active participations. There were a lot of people there who knew each other already, but everybody was very welcoming. I went by myself. I didn't know really anybody there. I've been to the Zoom a couple times, but pretty quiet sitting back just stitching and listening in on the days that I was on the Zoom. But yeah, everyone was super friendly. A lot more interaction among the tables, and I think that in part had to do with people feeling a little more comfortable because they had people there that they did know, and then partly just the size. You know, it was smaller, it was more intimate. The tables were actually spread out more, so it gave you more room to maneuver around and walk around and see who was stitching on what. And yeah, and then Gary is very gregarious, or Ronnie is very gregarious, so he was making the rounds, talking a lot of the weekend and looking to see what people were stitching and encouraging people to interact and show off what they've been stitching and things like that. So I had a fantastic time. I had fabulous table mates. It was 7 women who I'd never met before. When I first got there, some people immediately invited me to join them, but I noticed there was one woman sitting at a table in the back by herself. So I said, well, thank you, but let me go see if she has someone joining her, because I don't want to leave somebody sitting here by themselves. So she was there by herself, so I joined her, and we very quickly then had 3 more women join us, and then 2 more the following day. So we ended up with 8 of us at the table, 5 from Texas, 2 from Florida, and then I was there from Delaware. So, but we all clicked. We had a great time. One of the women from Florida, Carolyn, she also has a floss tube channel, which I recommend, Carolyn Stitches. After the first day there, she was the one that was sitting there by herself when I got there. So we had some time to chat before people really joined. And so that night I'm in my hotel room, you know, just kind of decompressing, getting ready for bed. And I realized that the hotel's cable had YouTube. So I looked up Carolyn's floss tube channel, and I definitely recommend checking her out. She is a fantastic stitcher, does a wide variety of stitches, and she also does needlepoint and some other crafting. So I think she said she only posts once a month, so she's not going to bury your floss tube subscriptions, but yeah, definitely worth checking out. I was also excited. I did get to meet Candy, the 614 Stitcher. I have been watching her channel ever since she filled in for Sheila on Sunshine Stitchers and did a segment with EJ about stitching plans. So I got to meet Candy. We were both seemed to be taking breaks at the same time, so I had a good opportunity to chat with her, and she's every bit as funny and as sweet in person as she is on her floss tube. I think I am finding that people on their floss tubes are very genuine. So what you see on floss tube is likely what you're going to encounter in person. And then I did get to meet Dina, who's the half stitch cross stitcher, and her friend Donna were there from Georgia. And Dina is every bit as gracious, and her stitching is as gorgeous in person as it is on floss tube. So those were kind of highlights of just a couple of the wonderful people that I met. I only mentioned them because they were floss tubers that I watched before I went down there, so it looked like a familiar face, even though it's really just from my screen. Did a lot of shopping, did a lot of stitching, so I actually have quite a bit of stitching to show, and I kind of went to both retreats with limited expectations of how much stitching I would actually get done. I know I can start talking and get sidetracked, and I also knew that there was going to be shopping at both, and just lots of things to distract from stitching, but I got a good deal of stitching done, and I actually have a couple FFOs. So let's dive, oh, before I dive right in, just a reminder on my Floss Tube 4, or if you haven't been there, Floss Tube number 4, I do have 4 charts that I'm giving away. I'm gonna do the drawing probably late on Saturday the 27th, which is, it's Friday now I'm filming. I'm not sure if I'm gonna get this posted tonight or if it will be tomorrow, but I'm gonna do the drawing late Saturday night and notify the winners. So I will also announce them in my video next week, but just wanted to put a reminder here. The specifics are toward the end of my Floss Tube number 4 of the keywords to enter for the drawings, but I'm giving away a couple charts from Stitches by Ethel. This one, the keyword is mouse. I'm giving away this one, which was a exclusive to Hodgepodge. This one, the keyword is bird. I'm giving away this one, which was given to us at Stitch North. The keyword for this one is window. And I'm giving away this one, which was an exclusive to Stitch North. And the keyword to this one is flower or flowers. I'll search for both because I mentioned both in my Floss Tube number 4. But put the comment on Floss Tube number 4, not on this video, because I'm going to select from comments on that video for the winners. But that's what I have going on there. So stitching finishes. I took along, I showed this last time that I printed this out. This is a free pattern from Fox and Rabbit. It's called Cherry Monogram Pincushion. If you just go to their website, foxandrabbit.com, and look at patterns, they have a section with free patterns, and I stumbled across this one in here. It is the full alphabet, so they have it stitched with a C. I stitched it with a K and finished it similarly. I like the lace on it. It's a little bit different, but let me see if I can get it to focus. Maybe not. So this is how I stitched it, and it is to put in my bowl with my other 2 pieces that I showed last time. So now I've got my 3 pieces in there that I want, and I was very happy with that. It's cut down a little smaller than maybe what I would have done, like less of a border around the K, but I knew what size I wanted to go here in this bowl, so that was sort of what drove that. And then it was partly just by accident. The other piece that I finished, I showed this, I don't know when, second video maybe. I've been working on the mouse trilogy. I showed one that was fully finished, and then this one I've been working on. This one is called Candy Cane, and it's from Mill Hill. And I have a fully finish on it. So I got it all done. I don't know if you can see the beads, probably the gold ones here showing up, but yeah, it's got, well, okay, the beads aren't really going to show up. Maybe. I put the same wool, it's wool fabric on the back as the other one, and I have a third one that's from the same, I have the whole trilogy. So 2 are now done, ready for next Christmas. Yeah, I love the I love the Mill Hill kits for travel. In fact, that was what I took for my airplane travel. I had to be a little more circumspect in my packing for this retreat because I was flying instead of driving, and I was only going to be able to take one kind of small suitcase. Fortunately, it was in Florida, so it's summer weather. It was hot as Hades down there and so humid. I'm glad I live up here and not there. But yeah, I had to be a little more creative in how I packed and what I packed for this one than I did for Stitch North, where I was driving. But I did take this to stitch on the plane. I didn't get to stitch a lot on the plane because I fell asleep. My flight down was at 6:30 in the morning. So getting up at 4 o'clock, I immediately fell asleep in the plane. But yeah, this is called Stitch in Time. It's from Mill Hill again, and let me see if I can just hold it up on this maybe. I did get the tomato done. So I got the tomato, and then there's some cream colored stitching around here that you maybe can't completely see, and I have started on the skein of floss that comes over here on the side. So that was just my airplane stitching. I don't know what I'm going to stitch on this one next. I got some other things happening now. So the other things I took for stitching at Stitching in the Wild, I took my Broderie à Paris by Hillis Designs. That's this pattern. And this pattern actually calls for 2 or 3. It calls for 2 different colors of floss. I'm only using red for all of it. But it's a variegated red that I'm using. So that's the pattern. And where I am. So last time I showed this, I only had this part done and a little bit of this top border. So I did this whole side part and more of this border up at the top. I didn't have any of that top line done, and I didn't have most of this V-shaped border done. So that's where I am with my stitching. It's just on weight 32 count, some kind of, I don't know who it's from. It was a piece that's been in my stash for 30 years, so but it's plain white. It's not anything special. And I am using Belsois Tulip, I believe is the color, to do that one. Oh, I forgot to mention on the K, I did not use the called for floss. I used the silks that I was using for those other 2 smalls just because I had them out and I knew that's where I wanted to put this, and I don't know what the fabric is. It was some very small scrap. It's not a color I would normally buy, so I think it probably came in a D-stash bundle. But that was that project. My next one that I worked on is from Cricut Collection, and it's called Bed and Bath 1. This is it. And what I want to do is this top one, the lady in the bathtub with all the books. It's kind of my crazy hair. I did not get terribly far on it. Well, it looks like I didn't. It's actually a lot of stitches. What I got done was the tile border. So now it's at the point, this is her hair, and these would be a couple bubbles here. The fabric is Lagoon Blue from Swigart. And it's 32 count. So I've started the, it's all this up here. I was not using the called for. And my plans now, I do want to work on this some more over the next couple weeks. I'm hoping that I can either get these bubbles or her head done so that I can get down to the bathtub to outline it, because that would make some great mindless stitching to do at StitchCon. So that's my plan with that one. So this is in my plans for the next few weeks, since StitchCon is going to come fast now. I'm at weekend B for StitchCon, so it's 2.5 weeks until I leave. This next one I was very excited about. So if you haven't seen this book, I recommend checking it out. Gary did have it at the retreat, and it didn't look like many people bought it, and I think it was kind of getting lost back in the corner. But this came out this spring at market, and it's called Between Friends, a Spring Sampling. It was a collaboration between Hands On Design and Beth from Simmerhouse Stitchworks, and that is what's on the cover. But this book it's one of those rare books that when I opened it, I was like, oh, I love every single project in here. There, okay, helps if my hand's not in front of it. So we have this pincushion, and this is actually a little pocket. And then, let me see, it's a little hard to show without showing the pattern. There's a needle book, and it's actually stitched inside. And there's a picture in here, I think, of it tucked into that pincushion. Yeah, here it is. That's the needle book tucked into the pincushion. What I was working on is these sweet little, oh, yeah, here's another. They've got just these cute little gift size tags done on perforated paper, just to make a little needle tag for a giveaway. They call it Love Gifts to Share. I thought those were sweet. But this was what I was working on, is the Biscornus. I've never done one. They have also in this book, they have some excellent assembly instructions for those, how to do them. So all the finishing instructions and everything are in here. So I love this book, and I haven't seen many people stitching it. I did laugh because this is a fabric that's behind the stitching, and that fabric is in the quilt here on my bed in a different colorway. So I don't know if they've reprinted the fabric or if somebody or the finisher had some old stash. But so anyway, I was working on the Biscornus. But do you ever have a project and you're excited about doing it, and then when you get working on it, somehow you're just not feeling it? So I didn't get very far. I worked on this at I think it was Friday at the retreat, and you can't really tell, but these pink stitches that look a little lumpy, they're not cross stitches. They're like Algerian eyelets, or I don't know. They're specialty stitches, the pink petals and those little flowers. But I was fighting a bit with the fabric. I think I was just having trouble getting it to hold as taut as what I wanted. I don't think the book has a great picture of the one I was stitching. The one I'm stitching was the bottom one. So I had done the pink flowers on one corner, and I had started the lines. I didn't really have the right hoop with me. This is Picture This Plus fabric, and I don't know, for some reason I always seem to fight with it a bit. So I fiddled with this for a good chunk of the day and not longer than I should have, before I was like, you know what, I'm just not feeling this piece. I still really want to do it. I wasn't feeling it that day. Doesn't mean I'm never going to feel it. So I set it aside. Then I did do a road trip. We took an Uber, a few of us, over to Cross Stitch Cupboard, which is a sweet little store in Fort Lauderdale. It's very tiny, but oh my God, does she have so much packed in there. It was fantastic. And I saw this pattern and knew I had to do it. It's from Val's stuff, and it's called Do One Thing Every Day. And it's this little cat, and it says, do one thing every day that makes you happy. So I am doing that one for the 614 Stitcher hosts a mental health care stitch along every May. And so I'm doing this one for the mental health care stitch along, since part of mental health care is self-care, taking care of yourself, finding joy in the little things, doing something that makes you happy. So I did start stitching this. It's coming out a lot brighter blue. While I was at Cross Stitch Cupboard, I found the pattern, and then I also found this fabric, which I fell in love with. It's not as bright in person as it's coming through. And then when I was like, ooh, I could stitch the cat on there. The cat is a different floss than the pattern calls for. I think this one is Sassy Brass. And I am going to do the alphabets in, sorry, I'm dropping things. I'm trying to get better at not going out of frame, but I'll get there, I promise. These are the flosses that I'm going to use for the letters below. They are not the called for, they're just some flosses that I pulled from Stash. And then if you're wondering what I have this on, what all these brass circles are, I saw this first, Misty Purcell from Luminous Fiber Arts. She talked about using these frames for stitching smalls, and they are called Mini Stretcher Bars, and they're from Edmunds. So the packaging looks like this. They do sell them on Amazon. I'm pretty sure that's where I got these, but they're a little tricky to buy. So this is 2 pieces and you need 4. So I've got 2 packs of 6 inches. They would be fantastic if you had little scraps, like you have, you know, a little 4x4 scrap, and that's big enough for an ornament, but you can't get any kind of hoop around it. And I know you can sew fabric around the edges to make it bigger so that it would fit in a hoop, or if you stitch in hand, you may be fine. I don't like to stitch in hand. I don't enjoy it. So for me, I want it stretched on something. These stretcher bars are fantastic. So this was my first time trying them. I am curious to see if these tacks damage the fabric at all. Most of this I think will be in a frame anyway and wouldn't be viewable, but you basically fit the bars together. They're just dovetailed ends. I used a hammer to tap them in, and once you get them tapped with a hammer, it's very square and it stays square. So I know needle pointers use stretcher bars a lot. For cross stitch, we don't as much, but I'm actually enjoying stitching on it. It weighs nothing, so that's nice. It's easy to hold on to. We'll see. I would use them again, as long as they don't damage the fabric. When I go to pull it off, if I find it damaged the fabric, I won't likely use them again. But yeah, so that's also in my plans. I want to keep stitching on that. The mental health care sale is for the month of May. So I have a few more days and want to stitch a little bit more on that. The other piece I stitched on, and I think this is my last one, was Tea Time. And this is available from Jardin Prive. And I'm not stitching it like this at all. I've completely changed the colors up. So these are my colors. It's much brighter. Last time you saw this, I only had the bottom red and green cup done, and I think the mouse was in there. The cat was here, but part of his head was missing. So I finished the cat's head and this whole stack of cups then up near the top. So I made a lot of good progress on this one, and this one is on fabric that I hand dyed myself. 32 count, I believe. But yeah, so I am way up there. I've got what, 1, 2, 3, and a tiny little sliver of a cup left to do. And then I'm still undecided about the hearts. I'm gonna put it in the, just lay it in the frame to see if I want to add the hearts, or I may need to give it some balance. I know my frame is taller. It's going to have a lot more margin top to bottom than it does side to side. So I may put these hearts in this upper corner and raise them up higher just so that it looks right in the frame. We'll see. Yeah, so that was the end of my stitching. So my plans, like I said, I want to work on the cat with the do one thing every day that makes you happy. I want to work on the lady in the bathtub from Cricut Collection so that I can maybe get down to the white bathtub and outline it and have it queued up to take to StitchCon. And then the other thing that I want to start working on is Welcome to the North Pole from Primrose Cottage Stitches. And let me get up a little closer so you can see the actual stitching. I bought this a while back from Garon. I think I was buying fabric and this caught my eye then in the new things. But I have since heard, actually on their site, but then I was checking it out, Primrose Cottage Stitches is hosting a stitch along over the next 6 months. So in May you do the Welcome to the North, or June you do Welcome to the North Pole, and then July you do the train, August you do the snowmen, on down, and you would be finished in November. So you'd have it done in time that you could have it up at Christmas. And I think, yeah, that's doable. It's not going to take too much time out of the month to stitch each of those little sections. So it is, the called for fabric is 28 count late taupe. I'm going to pull something from stash. I may do 28 count. If you do it on 28 count, it comes out like 7 by 18-ish. And then the floss, they have it charted with Classic Colorworks, Weeks Dye Works, and General Art, and then a few DMCs. But they have the DMC conversions too, and I will just do this one in DMC. Yeah. There's nothing here. I'm gonna pull the variegated skeins for. So that is also in my plans. And then the other thing I would like to work on some more is Isabella's Garden. That is the lavender and lace pattern. It's a little girl in a gorgeous dress blowing bubbles. It was my spring stitch and I want to work on it some more. And then I need one more small. So I am either going to, I did the sewing bee, the pincushion. I'm either going to do the strawberry. There was a strawberry someone did for a small at Stitching in the Wild that everybody fell in love with. Or I'm going to do another one of the JBW in the rounds 1/1, and I might do this Stitching in the Round. I haven't stitched this one yet. So yeah, I may do that one. I could even do that one. So I don't know if you can tell, there's the motifs are stitched in a darker color, and then let me see if I cover my face. The motifs are stitched in a darker color, and then there's kind of this lighter color that's these little squiggles in the background. And I could start just with stitching the motifs and see what it looks like and see if I run out of time, and wouldn't need to do that background. We shall see. I need a small and I can't make up my mind what I want to do. So speaking of smalls, how are we on time? I'm trying to make these shorter, but I'm not doing very well at it. For my smalls exchange, I got from Linda, this was a little pouch that Garon sells this size, and she bought it there at the retreat, and she stitched this, he's so cute, this little monster with his needle and thread, and it is from an exclusive design that was done for the retreat by Rory's Creations, and it was actually called Stitching in the Wild, and it had these little creatures on it. Linda came up and found me after the smalls exchange, and she had forgot, she had a small completely done, and somebody said something like, "Are you participating?" And she thought, oh, it's sitting at home on the dresser. So the smalls exchange was on Friday, and she whipped this out Thursday from the pattern that they gave us in the bag when we checked in, and then ran, I don't know, to Joann's or Michael's or somewhere to buy the hoop so that she could finish it. So she was very sweet, but he's cute. And she's like, he's not the called for colors, but it's what I had. I gave my table mates at this one a pair of the little tiny scissors. Oh, one moment, please. These little tiny scissors that have the rubber thing. I love these. They're fantastic for travel. And I keep one in my purse in case I go down to my dad's and forget scissors with whatever stitching I'm taking to his house. Then I know I can grab that out of my purse. But I gave everybody one of those, and then a scissor fob that I made, and that is fabric by Kath Holden in there, if I can get it to not have a glare. And the fabric is actually a photograph of some needlepoint. So they had those little flowers in there, and then I beaded little dangly things to go on as well. So that was my gift for the folks at my table. And on some video, when I don't have too much stitching to show, I will walk everybody through some tips on how to glue down the glass bobble on fabric or paper without getting any kind of weird bubbles or crystallization happening. There's glues that you can use that will work. And then another freebie that they gave us was from Fox and Rabbit. It was an exclusive again. So Stitching in the Wild. I don't know that I'm ever gonna stitch this one. It's kind of not me. I love Halloween, but I probably lean more toward the cute than the spooky. It's just me. So those were freebies. And then we had a whole, when we checked in, we had this whole tote bag, and it had the patterns in it. There's a little green trash can that we could use for our orts for the weekend. There was like a keychain and a pen. There was another one of this size of their bags that they gave us. This was mine. It's got stuff in it. It's got some horses on it. Got some floss tags from Stitchy Prose. She was there. There's a trunk show for Stitchy Prose. Erica Michaels, hands-on design. Somebody had done floss drop that they gave everyone with a playing card. Seasook Stitch gave out little stickers with her website on it. Hopefully I haven't mixed these up. Gina gave everyone a floss drop that says Garon Toten Bags. And then Deb has occasionally been on Sunshine Stitchers with Shelia and EJ. She gave everyone like a pin for a pincushion or counting pin. They were all different. Just throw this over here. Somebody had crocheted a little ort holder. It's just a tiny little thing. Got a few bags with candy. One of them was a bag of candy from Costa Rica. Jeez Louise. Someone gave this one, it says SITW for Stitching in the Wild 2023 with the hashtag. They gave those to everybody. And then somebody had made, these are really clever. I'm gonna have to do these for something. It's just the little matchbook, but it's got the oh, it's from Notorious Needle. Oh, she was there too. She has kind of an R-rated, she designs patterns, and they're a little R-rated. Don't watch that one if you got kids in the room, but she does some beautiful finishes and has a great sense of humor. So she's got felt in there. So it's a little needle book. And then on the freebie table, someone had an entire, probably 50 packs of DMC needles. They're embroidery. They're not tapestry, but I like embroidery because they're short and they're really sharp, and they're great for stitching up my seam on the bottom of my smalls. So I snagged a bag of them. So that's my pouch that was in my check-in bag from them. How am I on time? There was one skein of this gorgeous floss. And I want to do a single color, you know, like a Quaker spring or beachy Quaker or something. So I bought a few more skeins so that I would have enough to do something of a single color. It's coming out more yellow. That's probably more accurate to the color. It's blue and green, beautiful variegation. That is from Remy's Creations. And it's a custom color for Garon. It's actually called Garon's Colors. And Gary did tell me that they will now, they'll be the exclusive seller of this, but that they will be carrying this thread going forward. So if anybody likes this color, maybe more after I've stitched something with it, you can buy it from Garon Stitchery. And then I'm not going to go into all the things I purchased because like I said, I'm trying to make these shorter. So maybe I'll go through the stash next time. There was an exclusive that I was quite excited with, and it is a Teresa Kogut exclusive. And just the cutest. Gary had it stitched up, and I'm really liking that one. So I did buy that one, and then it is stitched on, what the heck is this fabric called? XJudesigns Grandma's Slip. And I have been wanting to stitch on XJudesign. Well, first I bought it with the flosses. These are the flosses. Let me see if I can get it without the glare. The picture on the front is pretty true to color. So I bought it with 36 count Grandma's Slip. But then I started thinking, well, maybe I want to do it on 32 count. And this isn't for this project, but the Aida looked considerably different. See how much lighter it is? But I love that sunshiny look on the Aida. So I'm going to do something with it. Not this project, but I bought it because he had it, and I don't really have a source for XJudesign. But this fabric is, here, I'll pull out the 32 count. It's a little lighter than like a raw linen. And then it has these yellow, they look like they're sprayed on, this yellow. And yeah, I'm pretty sure they're sprayed on. And if you didn't want the yellow to be as strong, you could use the back of the fabric because it's definitely lighter. It smells good. I wonder what it's dyed with. It might smell like tea. So I did buy that in 36 and 32, and I bought the pattern. Maybe I'll just keep going and show stash. I've got it here. I bought a few patterns. This was from Market. It was the one of the patterns that were made for the Treenway Silks collection that they came out with it at Market, and several designers had patterns that used that same silk collection. Gary sold out of the silks, and this little thing is only 2 inches by 2 inches. Oh yeah, on 36 count, it's 3 1/4 by 3 1/4. So this is a tiny little thing. So I don't know that I want silks. I don't know that I want to invest the money in silks for this tiny little thing, although those are colors that I would definitely use again. But this one is called Always Time for Tea, and it's from Sweet Wing Studio is actually the designer name. But I bought that. And then I bought this area of Erica Michaels, which I know I have seen before, but I somehow missed, and I don't know if she did this. It's called The Beach is Calling. I don't know if she did this for like a retreat at the Stitch shop that's in Cape May, but this is Cape May themed. So the little trolley actually says Cape May, and the little beach houses down in the corner are looking kind of Victorian. Cape May is a Victorian beach in New Jersey. It's only a few hours from my house. I have been there. There's a beautiful little needlework shop there. But it's all these old Victorian beach homes are still there. And then from Stitchy Prose, I bought this Biscornu. I was actually in line to pay, and then this caught my eye, and I was like, oh, I didn't see that over there. And I went back over and realized it was cats. She had one with dogs too. I bought the cats, of course. I may change out the colors a little bit, but one of the cats has antlers like a reindeer. One looks like a snowman. One looks like a gingerbread man. I don't know what the fourth one looks like. Oh, Santa Claus. So I don't know if you can see that or not, but so I bought that. Stitchy Prose was there. She was a lot of fun. And then Fabrics by Stephanie was there, and I went a little crazy buying fabrics from Fabrics by Stephanie. I'm not gonna pull them all out, all of them, because the color never comes out right, and you know, one cream looks like the other on here. I was excited to get some chocolate milk, which something called for chocolate milk. Now I can't remember what it was, and in person it looks nothing like that. That looks green. There is no green at all in this. But the Erica Michaels, this beach boardwalk one that I just showed, that chocolate milk is actually the called for. So I went ahead and bought the chocolate milk. And then I was paying, and I was paying at Garon and saw this end across the room on Stephanie's table. I had already bought fabric from her, and I went back to buy this one, and I will show it because it's really pretty. It's a little more teal, especially at the top, than when it's coming through on the camera. I think what I like about hers is she will have big sections that are lighter, but the modeling itself, like the crinkly part, is actually fairly subtle on her fabrics. I bought another piece of Abyss, which I think is my favorite fabric. I keep pulling it out for different things. So anyway, I bought fabrics from Stephanie. And I think that is everything. I will wrap up here. Like I said, I'm trying to make these a little shorter. Although, please, I would appreciate some feedback. So, do you guys prefer to watch shorter ones, like half hour? Or do you prefer, like, if you're searching for a floss tube, does an hour scare you off? I seem to be running about an hour just to show what I've stitched, what I've bought, and talk through those things. So I did have that question. Yeah, so let me know in the comments. What's your preference? Short, long, or you don't care as long as it's cross stitch related and something you might find interesting. And that may be the case too. That's the way I am. I don't really care how long it is. Oh shoot, I completely forgot. I did want to shout out a couple floss tubers mentioned me on their channels. So Jean Farish mentioned me on hers. I mentioned her on mine last time. She was actually showing the needle minder that I gave out at Stitch North. And then Lucky Chance Stitcher had some very nice things to say. And I love her channel. So I was just watching her because she came up in my subscriptions. And she was a person that I saw at Stitch North, and I thought she was a floss tuber, but didn't go up and say anything to her, and I'm kicking myself because I should have. And then Two Martini Stitcher, who I have watched before, but somehow I think she dropped out on my subscriptions. I don't know what YouTube does sometimes. I've heard other YouTubers, not floss tubers, but other topics, talking about people sporadically just getting unsubscribed, and I don't know if it's something as a user that we do accidentally, or if it's some, you know, something YouTube does. But Two Martini Stitcher was showing the floss drop, so I wanted to give them a shout out here. So I think I'll go ahead and wrap up there. So give me some feedback, and tomorrow, like I said, I will do the notifications to the folks. I'll do the drawings tomorrow from floss tube number 4 comments and do the notifications to the winners. And then I'll announce on next week's video. I should have a video next week. Hopefully I get some stitching done because I've got a lot going on this weekend. So I may not have as much weekend stitching as what I normally would, even with the extra day off. But happy Memorial Day. Thank you to anyone out there who has served, or thank you for giving us the gift of your loved one or your friends and their service. So have a good Memorial Day, and I'll see you all soon. Bye.